Hello everyone and welcome back. So what we're going to be doing in this part is hopefully finishing the keyboard here. So as you can see, I've kind of been messing around with the best ways to sort of go about doing this. I have a piece in the back here, connecting, going through, following all the way up and reaching its point. I decided to sort of experiment with this a bit off camera just because this is probably like the most complex part. I didn't really want to fumble around with it too much and waste your guys' time. So I've done a couple pieces here and figured out there's going to be a bunch of different problems doing something like this. This is the best example. This piece comes out straight, but if I follow this line straight, there's nothing to plug into. So I have to do like a bend and move it into position that way. And I've also sort of come to the realization that maybe doing this in one piece probably isn't the best idea. We have a cut at the very end here and at the very start here. So I think what I'll be doing is breaking this up into sort of like two sets of models that we're going to make. We'll have all these pieces on the back, we'll have them all connecting into here, and then we'll go through the front and we'll have all these like connection pieces and have them coming in, and then as long as they're all slotting into the holes, they should be pretty close to each other, and then we can just bridge them, just so that way we don't really have to have one continuous piece going all the way through. It gets to be a bit of a nightmare. It's easier if we can just break it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete these guys and give you guys a better look at this piece here. So this is just based off of reference images as well as the 3D models that I found online. And yeah, it's just coming down, resting really close to this sort of rectangular piece. I moved it back very, very slightly off of camera. That's the only thing I've adjusted. But yeah, this piece essentially, if we go to our reference images, yeah, we have like a clear view in some of these shots of the overall shape of it. It seems like the end one has sort of a ribbed effect to it, but it also is a lot wider. I think this one is a different piece entirely, so I'll be looking into that after. But this itself should be the last major part of the keyboard if we get it done in this part, which I'm really hoping to do. There is one thing we're going to have to do really quickly before that though, and that is this here. So we can see pretty loosely the bottom of these keycaps sort of have this rounded sort of slot for these guys to go into. Like if I isolate these guys on their own right now, this is just sort of like resting on the bottom. It kind of seems like this is plugging into sort of a piece there. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of adjusting in the sense that I'm gonna have to make a new bottom piece of the key and then duplicate them all around, but that shouldn't be too difficult since we can just vertex snap all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're going to use this guy as our example. We can go back to isolating that and just sort of focus in on it. We can use this to our advantage here actually. If we just go to our smart duplicate face, center pivot on that, we can extrude the thickness out a little bit. Maybe like a 0.05, 0.075 might be a bit better. So yeah, we sort of have this hollow shape. We just sort of want this now plugging directly into this bottom. We just sort of want it to be all one piece so that this piece is actually going directly into something. I do want the color to match. I don't want this to be yellow since it's going to be one with the bottom here. And we can also raise it up a little bit so it's properly plugging in. I also kind of want to bring these guys out a little bit and round out the edges. little tad of cleanup here. These vertices not being exactly where they want to, I'm just gonna snap them to the closest edge. Is the top like that? No, the top's good. Let's go ahead and merge that really quickly. Okay. Seems to be a bit taller than it's supposed to be. Gonna move the pivot to the top and just snap it up here. Yeah, let's go ahead and isolate these guys and start combining them. So I'm just going to trace this just because I think a Boolean might not be the best option with this one right now. I say that because the top isn't closed off. It's a lot of extra edges. I would just like to have a bit more control on this, especially because we're going to be duplicating this around so much. We might as well just do one really good one. Snap that there. Merge vertices. And then we're just going to go around and just sort of snap these to the closest vertices that we can find. And this is a super tiny detail, but we've already been going through and more or less been adding onto the bottom and making the bottom pretty accurate to what we're finding. I don't think I'm really going to be showing off the bottom of this model, but I do intend to put it up for free if anyone wants to download it. And I'm not entirely sure what other people are going to do with it, so it should be as complete as possible, I think. Okay, we got that side. Just sort of continuing along. Nothing too new here. Just vertex snapping, holding V. Okay, we can now go back to face mode and delete that face underneath. Let's change this guy back to gray. Mesh combine. Merge the vertices. And that should be it. This guy's now correctly plugged in. Just making sure it's the right height. It's really minor detail, but just wanted to make sure it's happening. So yeah, we have that correctly plugged in. I might even want to make it shallower. And that should be good. So what we're gonna have to do though is replace all the other pieces with this one, which should be pretty easy. If I isolate just the keycaps, just deselect everything we don't need. There we go. Just gonna go ahead and delete all these bottom pieces. I'm just gonna start with the regular sized ones first. And I'm selecting left to right just so that the sort of arrow that's sticking out of the gizmo doesn't really get in the way. I find that happens quite a bit. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so this one should be centered so that if we just snap it, it should line up perfectly. Seems to be doing so. Actually, for convenience, maybe we should give these guys a different color just so we can really quickly tell how far along we are. Let's go with, I think, green. Okay. Really actually pretty happy with how these keycaps are turning out. They have a solid amount of detail to them. Okay, we're moving up, which means I'm gonna raise the pivot to the top here so that we can just snap it directly into this pivot. Continue to duplicate and snap over. Oop. Sometimes I hit Control D twice and I'm just making sure that there isn't two of them right on top of each other. It wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world because I'm sure once we merge vertices it would just sort of evaporate. But it's just something to keep in mind. You never know, sometimes you forget that stuff and it can cause problems down the line. Okay, one more row to go. I also want to give these guys a random rotation so that these little nubs aren't all the same, but we can do a pass on that in just a minute. Got to get these guys in place first. And yeah, even though the bottom is probably not going to be perfect, it'd be nice to sort of have some shots where it's like angled up. So we're not seeing like the entire bottom, but something kind of like a maybe this angle here so you can kind of see it. Okay, let's see what's the best way to deal with these ones. It seems that I actually deleted the bottom on this guy. The size is the same, so that's good. Yeah, it's just some of the sizes on these guys are a bit different, so I'm going to snap these into place and then scale them a bit more carefully. Like so. Snap the pivot back to the top. Snap this here. Scale this out. And it seems to be a bit thinner, so scale it up. And this one seems like it's the same size, so that's good. And I think this is the last one. This is a lot smaller. Nice. So that should be, yep, all of them. Okay. So like I was saying, I do want to do just some random rotations so that these sort of nubs sticking out aren't all the same. So just going to go through. Oh, are they not centered? Weird. Okay, let's go through and center pivot with everything selected. That should solve that problem. Weird. I don't know why it wouldn't be defaultly centered, but okay. Just another one of those steps where it's like, I don't have a ton to really comment on with this. Pretty standard. I'm sure there might even be a script to do something like this automatically. Oop. Just trying to keep them all a little bit different. Some of them can stay more or less straight, but you just don't want it to be perfect. because nothing is gonna, you know, be perfect in real life, especially this, which is supposed to be a bit old, a bit sort of broken down. Okay. Sweet. So that is that. We can go ahead and start connecting these sort of longer leg pieces. Side note, there was a bell here before. I just put it on this hidden layer so we can pop our camera in there a little bit easier without having to sort of, you know, go through and isolate everything. So, okay, I think it would be easier to do the front parts. So let's save those for the end and get this back sort of in position. So this 3D model is actually a really good example of what we're trying to go for. It's kind of like they all stick out and then crank straight down and then plug back in. They're resting in front of this thing and then they sort of intertwine with these other ones back here. But they're not actually like plugged into anything, and we can back that up with our reference. And let's see. It's a little hard to tell, but it's not like plugged into anything. This is a side piece with the ribs, like I was saying. It seems to be welded into something, so we'll do that maybe in the next part. But all these pieces themselves, like they're just doing their own thing. We can even look here. There's no like anything running through them. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. The positioning on this guy is more or less what we're going for. The beautiful thing about this, once again, is we only have to do half and then we can duplicate it over. So you better believe we're going to be saving time and doing something like that. This one I'm going to leave, but what I'm going to be doing for the future ones is, yeah, cutting it off where I said before. So deleting that, we can always deal with it later. We have our pivot at the very top. And we're going to do these one at a time here. So just sort of getting into position, going to raise it up slightly, rotate. Okay. So we just have to make sure this is flat and that it is lined up to go right through here. And we want it to be sort of rotated to be straight. Which, looking at it from the top view, might be the best form. Yeah, if we rotate it along this axis, it should just be flush like so. And then we know we got it. Have that snap here so we know it's lined up with this guy. And this one is definitely kind of manhandly. Like there's no, I don't really have a super, you know, secret technique for anything like this. This one is definitely been put off to the very end for a reason. It's a pretty intimidating piece. So I'm just going to put that there. And I'm just more or less selecting vertices and massaging the shape. I still want it to sort of stay like a hard angled piece of metal, but I want it to flow naturally. I don't want any weird kinks or anything like that. And yeah, this part's definitely going to take its time. As you can see, if we were to connect each piece all the way through and connect it in, it would take a pretty long time and things will get pretty delicate really quickly. So I'm just going to continue with this process. So that's one. And we're just going to sort of continue it all the way along. I did a few tests of ones that are a bit further up here and the shape changes quite a bit. If we look back at this, like the ones here compared to the ones here, they're sticking out quite a lot more. So when I was just sort of like trying one over here, I didn't really have anything to go off of, so I would recommend going from the inside out, and that way you can always refer back to the one previously in line to sort of know exactly how it should be set up. Have a smooth transition, kind of like what we were doing in the last part with the front teeth. Or rather 2 parts ago. I think it was 2 parts ago. I've been doing a lot of recording this weekend. Can't quite remember. Yeah, I think it's wise to probably, once you rotate this into position, go right for this piece. And then everything else in the middle will sort of just fall into place once they're both set up. So rotate it in a way where they're lined up pretty good. I'm going to change my scale tool to world. Make sure it's squished down. Make sure it's snapped to be level, which is good. And just sort of bring this in. We're getting some of those weird kinks I was talking about. I'm glad I'm not posting this on YouTube, where they'd probably hear weird kinks and demonetize all this. So, +1 for putting this on Google Drive. Not that it's going to be monetized anyways, but the YouTuber in me can't help but poke fun at that. Let's see. Okay, just massaging that. I'm wondering if I should pull this back at all, but it seems to be fine the way it is. This one I kind of want to maybe pull out a little bit. I'm sure we'll get a better idea if we're doing this correctly once we get to some of the more extreme angles. It's pretty calm right now. But yeah, I'm really excited to get this part of it all done, because once we have this done, it is just those little cleanup knick-knack things that I keep taking screenshots of and putting on the top right here. And these are all very minor things, like a screw on the bottom of the leg, little plastic cylinders, a slit along there. So those ones we might be able to get done in like 1 or 2 parts once this is all done. So part of me is just like really hoping that we can just get this part done in this section, and then we can move on to that, and then we're into Zbrush. And we're moving along pretty quickly at that point. It'll be a lot more fun, and then it'll also go by a lot quicker, I think, once we're doing that kind of work. Okay. Going back to our top view and rotating this. Using our scale tool to make sure it's flush. Snapping it and lining it up in the middle. All right, now we got to deal with the sort of in-between stuff. Let's try and bring it over. It's going to cause some interesting bending. Primarily here. I think we're starting to find a rhythm with all this. And this guy, I'm guessing, wants to come out a little bit. Okay, we're starting to go up a bit, which I think is a good thing. Okay, I'm noticing something here that I should be addressing. I think we should make it a point for all of these to be level. So I'm going to snap that down there. Grab these verts, move the pivot to the top, snap that to be level with this. And same with these guys. That way they're all sort of going in at the same spot. And I'm curious to see if that affects this side of things. Which it doesn't seem to. It seems to be all pretty good. Everything's more or less the same right now, which is nice. But now we're starting to turn at a much more rapid rate. Rotate this a little bit. Okay, let's grab this. I'm going to reset my pivot by pressing D and clicking off of any of the meshes. Let's go back to our top view. Just as we were doing before, rotate. Okay. Move our pivot to the top. Snap it to be level with the other ones. Flatten it out and make sure it is snapped forward. Okay, now we're gonna have to clean this side up a bit. Okay, so it is curving up, which is nice. Yeah, it's mostly just these bottom pieces that sort of get a little wonky every time we do this. So I'm just gonna pull that in a little bit. This one seems to want to be turned and sort of pulled in a bit. I feel like these ones also will probably want to be rotated. Okay. Still seems to be in a good position. This is going a bit smoother than I thought. I'm waiting for something to just sort of crash and burn. Especially because once we're done this, we can just, yeah, mirror it over. Okay, this isn't as horrible as I thought. I think, yeah, I've been saying this the whole time, but breaking things down into manageable pieces is a lot better. So we have one piece here that connects to one piece here, that connects to one piece here. We can then merge them all independently and individually, and we don't really have to worry about one long crazy piece. That's what was always scaring me, but now that we've done a pretty good job of breaking it all down, it kind of just works. Duplicating that again, and I say that now, but I'm sure something will pop up that's just like really confusing. I can already tell that this rotation seems a bit weird. Kind of wants to be more like so. See how it's like twisting like that? Let's isolate this guy. Since we're duplicating all of them, we got to sort of figure it out sooner rather than later. Because if we continue duplicating with something like this, we're just going to have to fix it on all of them. So it kind of wants to come out like this, but then it's being pulled in. So these guys essentially just want to be pulled out a little bit, outward facing, which is okay. Let's go to our top view. Just make sure the rotation is okay. Scale it. Snap it so it's flush. And then move the pivot to the corner so we can snap the height to be the same. And let's go ahead and massage this out. So I think one of the problems is that we should be raising this stuff up and moving it over. But this kink seems to be a little problematic. Kind of wants to be over here, which encourages this to be over here. Like so. Which means this probably wants to move a bit over as well. So I guess we can just spread these all out a bit. We're just not fanning it out enough. Mostly at this top point, it seems like. I'm sure if we do one more, it'll probably fix itself. Yeah, this one seems to be a bit weird for sure. I think this guy definitely needs to be curved out. Okay, I think we're back on track here. This one though, I'm going to grab this edge and rotate to thicken up a little bit. Same with the front. I don't like this angle. I think part of it is that this is thin. Or maybe it's just, yeah, it's off position a little bit. So just keep an eye on that stuff as you're duplicating it, because like I said, as you duplicate it, you're reusing the same pieces over and over. If you catch an issue early on, it's only going to save you time. So make sure every time you duplicate something over, you're actually looking over everything. Okay. That one seems to be lined up. Can go ahead and grab these guys. Standard procedure. Squish them down. Move the pivot to the corner. And that should be good. We can work on pulling these guys in. Just don't want it to be twisting too much. What I think is giving it the weird angles, mostly up here though. So I gotta rotate that out. Pull it in. Pull this guy out. Yeah, okay, I see what it is. It's like these guys are, as they rotate, they're pointing out this way. And we just need to sort of keep the flow going a bit. Kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what's going on. It's this rotation I don't like. It seems like it's this inside one. Yeah, and that already pretty much solved it. Okay. Whew, okay, we are slowly making progress here. It's not the speediest thing in the world, but just making sure this is following a good path, checking reference where I can. Let's go back to so we don't have the clearest reference of the back. But yeah, it does show as we go to the middle, these bends sort of lower. So more or less we're on the right track. Okay, this is a problem. This should be lined up like so. Okay. Can move forward, duplicate, and continue along. And just try not to focus on how many of these there are. This is definitely a part where if you are following along, you can easily just do a couple of these. And then just sort of like, I don't know, figure it out. Like the rest of them will mostly be the exact same. So let's go into our top view. Make sure that's level. Snap that to the front. Snap that so the height is the same. Iron out any of the kinks that we have. Looks good from the back. Front wants this to be a bit rounder. Just sort of looking at references, it seems like all these bottom pieces are sort of flat and flush. So I'm wondering if I should do a pass on that right now. Because if I were to take this and I were to flatten at the bottom, and let's say snap it to the bottom here. Yeah, it would look a little bit silly, but at least then we can edit them all at the same time. So I think that's probably how we're going to go about doing this. We'll continue with how we're doing it now, and then we'll flatten them all out like so. At least that way we can sort of work at them all simultaneously. So we'll rotate this guy. I just want to make sure all the heights are relatively even, and I think that'll be easier once it's all in place, because then we can just grab all the bottoms, smush them down, and rescale. So okay. Just continuing with our process, nothing too new. We're mostly doing the same things, so I'm starting to get a pattern of taking these guys and pulling them out a little bit. Seems to like when I do that. No weird twisting. And look, we're on a roll now. I'm just going to keep going with this. Yeah, I don't have a ton of commentary for this one either. I feel like I've reached a stage where most of these techniques I've gone over, or most of the ones that I normally do, but then in something like this, like there isn't any really advanced techniques I can show off as much as it's just me more or less just manhandling some of this geometry. Getting that in the middle. Pulling the stuff out a little bit. And we got a good rhythm going on now. This is kind of the time of modeling, or the time in modeling where I'd probably have some good music on, just be chilling out. But yeah, as far as commenting on this kind of stuff, a little lackluster. Not too much I can really say. As you can see, we're just repeating the same techniques over and over again. Going back into top view, rotating, scaling, centering, snap into the front, and doing so. This is kind of my first time doing a tutorial of this scale. I know a lot of people typically just speed these parts up. I know I have a sped up option, but I don't know. I think it's important to sort of have the option for commentary. But when it comes to stuff like this, I'm just trying to think, like, is there value in having me not just speed this up? I don't know. You never know who's going to get lost during specific parts and kind of just want to see a slower version. So I guess that has value in it. I don't know. If I do something like this, though, again, I'd be curious to see what most people say about stuff like this. Because I feel like with something of this scale, there's been a decent amount of times where a decent amount of times where I haven't really had too much to add commentary wise, just because it's stuff we've either already gone over, or stuff like this where it's like a continuous repeating of the same task over and over again. Okay, we're definitely about halfway, more than halfway. And that one might be a bit wonky, so I'm going to take the previous one. Okay. Rotation. It's probably that rotation that's sort of messing everything up more or less. And by messing it up, I mean like that's what's causing us to have to go back and sort of fix the back pieces, because it's twisting this in a very non-likable way for the rest of the mesh. But yeah, we definitely have a bit of a rhythm here of rotating the pieces. Okay, down here seems a little wonkier than I'd like. I think that's just not as smooth of a transition as it should be. So that should do the trick. Sort of rescaling and massaging. Okay, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 left. Pretty good number to randomly just check on. But yeah, I wish this part was like a perfect circle or something, so we could just use Smart Duplicate or some sort of array tool. But it is what it is. Okay, moving it in the middle. The other side, like I said at the start, will be a lot easier. So that'll be nice to know that we can get through that a lot quicker. And then we just have to sort of connect them all together. And like this it'll probably be time consuming as well, but not really difficult, if that makes sense. Okay, we can just pull these out. Pull these out. Something about this doesn't seem like a proper bend. I think it might be this not being far enough out. Okay, that seems to fix it a little bit. Okay, well, it looks solid, and then I know once we adjust the bottom to be all even, I think it'll be looking really good. I do want to fix this though. Okay, smoother transition. Gonna grab an older one just so I know it's a bit more reliable. Excuse me. I feel like when I never burp, but when I'm recording, and I guess I'm always talking and like swallowing air, maybe, I don't know. Just talking a lot, I guess. It's making me burp, which is weird, but I feel like I've been doing it the entire length of this tutorial course. I hope it's not picking up a lot, because I don't listen through from start to finish every single one of these recordings. Just sort of skim them. I haven't really been able to find any times where it's happened, but I'm sure you guys might be able to hear it, which is a little embarrassing. Snap that down. Yeah, we're getting to a weird position where it's like bending quite a bit to fit into the hole. I wonder if that's part of the reason the last one was a little bit wonkier than normal. Okay, we're still getting pretty smooth transitions. It's mostly these bottom ones. I kind of wish I didn't triangulate it and put it into a point. Okay, we will continue. Not too many left. it'll get kind of spiderwebby near the end, but the good thing about all these being independent is that we can just delete them and remake them if they're a bit funky. Yeah, like see how all the bottoms are uneven? We're going to fix all that, and I think it'll probably straighten itself out pretty well at that point. Okay. Just doing our regular snaps, of course. Let's do our sort of pushing of the verts. Okay. Moving forward, I feel like I've just been repeating the same stuff over and over again. It's weird. It seems like they're getting more straight. I think it's because they're getting a little bit more claustrophobic here as well. Okay, getting close. I mean, these are honestly getting closer. Seems like. Why are these two so close? Yeah, something about that's wrong. I'm gonna move this guy back in a little bit. Weird, I don't know why that is. But yeah, this sort of like lifting motion shouldn't be happening. It should all be flush to the bottom. So we will be fixing that soon in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these guys. Definitely not the most entertaining or educational, for that matter, version of this. But this is kind of why I've left this part to the end, is because I knew it wasn't going to be it wasn't going to be a lot of fun to do. Yeah, I've been dreading it for a long time now. It has been on my list of things to do. This actual tutorial is really, really fun to do, but it's just I knew this part was going to be a bit of a mess. Okay. I feel like I don't really need to fix these anymore. Seems like they're almost just fixing themselves. Which is good, saving us time. Maybe not. Maybe this one needs to come out. Seems like there's some weird twist from here to here. Kind of makes you want to do that. Okay, we are getting dangerously close to the end. Scale, center, snap forward, snap down. Do we have to adjust? Probably slightly. Pull this out, pull this out, pull this out. Pull that up. Okay, we are almost there. So close. Kind of want to raise that a bit. This part's looking really weird. It makes me want to hurry this up and fix it. It's definitely not how it's supposed to be. Because yeah, these are supposed to be angled up, not down. Okay, at least it shouldn't be too difficult of a fix, honestly. So we'll get that done quickly. I feel like my brain is melting a little bit though, doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, pull out, pull this out a bit, pull this out a bit, pull this up. And then, actually maybe not. Okay, we might have to start isolating this stuff, just because everything's kind of getting in the way a little bit. Or maybe we should finish this off and then we'll isolate it when we're cleaning up the bottom. Okay, back to the top view. This one's almost lined up perfectly, which is nice. Snapping that down. We have 2 more to go after we massage this out. Like so. We are so close. And yeah, these don't fit perfectly, but we can fix these later on. It's more the openings that I'm concerned with than anything. Right, why am I just staring at that? Yeah, this one's getting pretty close. Is the rotation off? It seems like it. That's probably why they're so close. Yeah, and that's even clipping through, which will be fixed. when we adjust everything, because we're going to be pulling it all down, right? I've kind of accepted that this part is going to be longer, but I just kind of want to get this section out of the way. I don't think anyone wants to spend more time on this than they really have to, so if I can condense it to one part, that's probably ideal. I feel like I sound like I'm dying. I can assure you I'm not. This is just incredibly not the most fun part of this. It's probably the best way to describe it. Just one more though. That was kind of sloppy for text work. Let me pull that down. Pull this one in a bit. And this one comes down. The final one. Yeah, near the end, these openings get quite a bit smaller, don't they? We'll have to adjust that. Okay. Top view. Put that in the middle. Snap it forward. Snap that there. Snap it down. Okay, and that is that part done. We're gonna have to fix it, but that was quite a decent amount of work. So let's go ahead and save before we do anything else, because we definitely do not want to do that again. Okay, so what are these adjustments that we're gonna have to do? If we look at these pieces, they all come straight down and they seem to be flat and even. Even in this 3D model, they seem to be doing that as well. So we're gonna be mimicking that. We're gonna be taking all of these bottom pieces and bringing them straight down. So first of all, let's just isolate a lot of this stuff. We'll grab that, and this part we'll probably do. The easiest way to do this would probably be to probably grab all of these, move the pivot to the bottom, and then just snap that down there. I'll do it with wireframe off, so grab all of that, grab the pivot, snap it all the way down, grab all this, pivot, snap down. Now these are rotating, which I don't think they're supposed to be. So let's just bring them all down and then we'll deal with the rotation after. This part at least is pretty easy. This is definitely one of those like mindless things that you have to deal with in modeling. So how's that looking? Not bad, honestly, not bad. The rotation, yeah, it is a problem, but we'll be able to fix it. Pretty easily, I think. But let's just focus on this right now. Just snapping them down. Spacing seems to be a little bit inconsistent, so I'm just going to fudge that a little bit. But I think we did notice as they were coming to the end that they were getting a bit closer, didn't we? Yeah, which should be fine. Once again, just moving the pivot to the bottom spike and snapping it to the other bottom sort of triangular pieces, the equivalent of where the pivot is. Okay. Nice. And the final one. Okay, so honestly, better than I expected. I thought there'd be a lot more rotation issues. Which is honestly a really pleasant surprise. Still a little bit of cleanup. Let's just make sure we can go ahead and straighten everything. And just sort of rotate some of these guys. I just sort of want them to stay consistent and straight. Seems like these ones are rotated, the edges at least. All the bottoms are a little bit wonk. We'll do a pass on that at the very end, where we just grab all the faces and sort of straighten them out. And once again with this stuff, it doesn't, luckily for us, it doesn't have to be perfect because this model itself is based on kind of an old janky machine. So how straight it is can also be a little bit janky. And even that from the back is probably starting to look a lot better. We can adjust the effect of how smooth that transition rotation is. Just kind of grabbing the whole thing, rotating, then the individual sub-object pieces, rotating them, straightening that out. Okay. Thank God that we can duplicate this over to the other side. I can't imagine doing this twice. Okay. With some of these, when I rotate them, I feel like they're getting a bit thinner. So I'm just beefing them up afterwards with the scale tool. Some of these are getting a little bit weirder to deal with. I'm just going to manually rotate them. And only a few more, over halfway. Maybe I should have just gotten this part done at the very beginning as soon as we could have, and saved all kind of like the fun stuff for the very end, because I'm just like, oh my god, let's get to Zbrush. Zbrush is going to be a nice, well-earned treat after this. Even things like UVing, like I honestly like do not mind that at all. I know some people, it's kind of like the bane of their existence, but it can be fun. Typically what I do with UVing is I usually just put on some music and just have a good time with it, but a little bit different when you're recording a video. So we'll see how that goes. Getting close. From the outside, it's looking pretty good. I think there might be an additional cut here that we can pull everything back with. Or maybe I just have to lower all of this a bit. And we'll do a pass on that in just a second. Just continuing to rotate this out. Okay, very, very close. And last one. Okay, let's do a pass on the bottom to make them all flat. For these, I'm just going to isolate and literally just, I guess I can't really just smush it like that, can I? I can smush the edges. That'll work though. Okay, so we'll be doing that. In fact, I'm going to do all of them at once. The front should all be fine, it's just the back. I think that's going to be varied, so we can do something like that. Just going to select all of them and smush them down. Okay. Cool. So if we look at what we have versus most of the reference, the main issue is the height of these guys are way higher than they should be. Like this bend here. So what I'm going to do is lower this as much as I can before it clips in. And just sort of follow a much more gradual increase, because it seems to get kind of radical near the other end. Can even lower these a bit. They all seem to be getting thinner over here as well, so we can beef them up. I just want to make sure I can properly lower them all first. Because yeah, they should not be that tall. It's looking a lot more appropriate. The thickness is now what's throwing everything off a bit more than anything. I also think these bottom parts are raised up a bit more. I'm going off of the 3D model in this sort of shape here. This is, oh no, what it is it's straight and then it bends down. So there's like a cut where it like plateaus. That's what it is. I still think I should play with the idea of raising all that up though. But I suppose if I'm going to be cutting it all, it's probably not the wisest idea. Let's go for a cut. Just going to my side view and using the cut tool to slice through it all evenly. I can then grab these guys and just bring them down a bit. We're getting more of that shape that we're seeing in the other model. Pull that in a bit. Nice. Now it's mostly, yeah, just like a thickness and overall size thing that's kind of plaguing this. Yeah. We need the scale to be consistent across the whole thing, right? So, I think I can sort of go into these independently one at a time and just focus on moving some verts so that everything's a bit more even. Still want it to keep its roundness though. And once this pass is done, I think we're ready to duplicate the whole thing over to the other side. And then that would probably do it for this part. The other part we can do the front, and then that'll be it. That'll be it for the keyboard. So yeah, I'm just moving those guys up. They're all slightly different, so I kind of have to do them one at a time. And then I think we're going to grab our vertices by normal after this and just beef it up a little bit because they all seem a little bit too thin. They should be a lot closer together. So we'll do that. We'll duplicate them over. And that'll probably do it for this part. I haven't checked how long we've been recording for, but I feel like it's been a pretty solid amount of time. It also seems like these joints are getting less severe as we go on. Or maybe not, that one's pretty bad. These ones might even all be, yeah, they seem to be all good. Let me just isolate these again. Kind of seems like some of the rotation on these guys are a little bit wonky. But I think that should be okay, just due to the random nature of this whole thing. Or not random, but more like beaten up. So I'm going to combine this. I'm going to grab, yeah, all the verts. Except for the top ones. So I'm going to want these guys too. Yeah, we can just sort of go to our move tool, go to normal. and beef them up a bit. So maybe I don't want these guys selected. Maybe I'll beef them up. About yay much. A little bit more. And then we can do these guys, but just not as much. Okay. And I'm starting to notice something about this. I think this is supposed to be directly on top. If I'm looking at the reference, it seems like it goes straight down at some point. Ours never do. So let's quickly do that. I'm just going to move my pivot to the side, snap it. And this should give us pretty even spacing. Yeah, this is definitely something I overlooked a little bit, but would probably take quite a bit of time either way. I think this is actually probably the faster way to do it. Okay, so we are going to have to straighten some of this out, it seems like. And then mostly just, yeah, adjust the height. At this point, it just seems like a spacing and rotation issue. I feel like I should just do this off camera at this point, just fix up how some of the sizes are different, how some of the rotations are a little off. Yeah. Let me go ahead and scale this guy up a bit. And this to match. Yeah, just because some of them seem to be a little bit too wonky, I think I should probably fix that just by scaling it. I can probably do that off camera though. Freeze transforms, delete history. I'm just going to mirror it to have a bit of a look as to how this will turn out. Not too bad. Curious if I take this and squash it down a bit, how does that make things? I think I should add kind of like this joint going in sooner, and then a cut. Basically going down. Let me see if I can get rid of all these edges. Yeah, I think this is more the shape we're going for. Just based on the reference, this seems to be kind of how it's supposed to be. A bit softer like that, yeah. Yeah, this is one of those things where you kind of just have to look at the reference for a long time and figure it out. But I think that's more or less the shape. What I'm going to do is play with it a little bit off camera, practicing, or not necessarily practicing, but focusing on straightening all this out a little bit. Because the rotations seem to be off. The scales seem to be off, and I do like a bit of imperfection, but I think it looks a little sloppy. So I'll clean that up. This is just me rescaling things and whatnot, and I'm just going to do it on half and mirror it over. And then we'll start the next part where we connect it all up with a much nicer looking piece. So I'm not going to be doing anything too crazy off of camera, just more or less taking faces, resizing them, reshaping them, rotating them, and just keeping it a bit more clean because we're having these sort of weird rotation issues where it wants to be like that, but this part won't let it. Let's do just some weird scaling. So yeah, I will fix this up and I will catch you guys in the next part. We did get quite a bit done in this part still. This is still a super good foundation. It's like 85% of the way there. So I will just clean that up and I will show you guys what I did in the next part. Thank you guys for watching, and we will get the keyboard done. Yeah, we'll get the keyboard done in the next part. So sweet. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.